I never imagined I'd grow up as a ghost, not a literal one, but a living shadow of a brother I never met. My name is Amelia, but for 15 years I was forced to answer to the name Andrew. My parents made me live a lie, all because they couldn't let go of a child they lost before I was even born. It started when I was 5. They began calling me Andrew instead of Amelia. They cut my hair short, dressed me in polo shirts and sneakers, and filled my room with NBA posters and action figures. I didn't question it. How could I? I had no siblings to compare to, no sense that anything was wrong. I just thought, maybe this is what being loved feels like. By the time I reached elementary school, I was using the boys' bathrooms, joining the football team, and correcting people if they used the wrong pronouns, even though deep down, I knew they were right. But I told myself, if I can just make them happy, if I can just become the son they lost, maybe then I'll matter. I buried Amelia. I tried to erase every girlish thought, every desire to wear a dress, to play with Barbies, to be who I was. Because the more masculine I became, the more my parents smiled. They gave me breakfast, in bed. Toys I circled in catalogs magically appeared on my pillow. I felt like royalty, if I played my role just right. Then everything shattered when I turned 15. Got my period, and I had no idea what was happening. I ran into my mom's room, terrified, begging for help. But instead of helping me, she screamed. She curled into a ball like I had betrayed her. My dad stormed in, and that was the first time he called me Amelia. That's when I learned the truth. I wasn't their only child. They had lost a son, a boy they were thrilled to raise. When he died before birth, my mom refused to grieve. So when I was born a girl, she simply replaced him. My existence wasn't mine. It was his. And in that moment, I thought maybe now they'd let me go. Maybe they'd finally love me for me. But my dad just said, just a little longer. Please stay, Andrew, for your mother's sake. That was the last straw. I exploded. 15 years of silence broke open in one breath. I've hated myself for who I am my entire life because of you. I walked out. I bought my first dresses with the money I earned babysitting. I looked in the mirror, really looked, and saw me. Not Andrew. Amelia. But the moment I stepped back into the house, my mother attacked my new clothes with scissors. "This is not who you are," she screamed. I called 911, my hands trembling, my voice cracking. When the officers arrived, I told them everything. But my mom, ever the actress, said I was unstable, that she was trying to protect me. And they believed her. For the first time I realized, love in that house came with conditions. And if I wanted freedom, I'd have to escape it completely. I stayed at Charlotte's house that first night, curled up in a bed that finally felt like mine. Soft sheets, warm air, and silence that didn't feel dangerous. Her parents didn't ask too many questions. They gave me space, safety, and something I hadn't felt in years. Acceptance. The next morning, reality crashed in. My parents would soon realize I wasn't with Mrs. Chen. I was terrified. But Charlotte's dad, calm and composed, made a few phone calls. He connected me with a youth shelter called Rainbow Bridge. They specialized in cases like mine, teens escaping emotional abuse and identity suppression. That same afternoon, I moved into temporary housing with other teens like me. At Rainbow Bridge, I met Jen, a caseworker with kind eyes and no judgment. She listened, truly listened. When I told her everything, she didn't flinch. Instead, she said, "You're not broken. You've just been unheard for too long." She helped me start a file for emancipation. It was a long shot, she warned, but my story was strong. I began journaling more intensely, documenting every moment of abuse, every contradiction, every time I'd been silenced or erased. But the calm didn't last. Within a week, My parents found out where I was. I don't know how. Maybe Mrs. Chen. Maybe a mutual friend. Either way, my mom stormed into the shelter, screaming my dead name. My dad stood beside her, trying to play the concerned parent card. It was a performance, just like every family photo we'd ever taken. Jen stood between us like a shield. She's safe, she's here by choice, and legally, she has the right to seek help. The staff ushered my parents out, but not before my mom spat words that cut like knives. "You've destroyed this family. You were supposed to fix what we lost." I wanted to scream, to shout, "I was never a replacement. I was your child." But I stayed quiet. Because I wasn't going to let her write my story anymore. The next day, Jen helped me file for partial emancipation. I was still a minor, but the court could grant me the right to choose my own gender identity, access therapy, and refuse to return home. Charlotte's parents agreed to testify. Even Mrs. Chen sent a written statement. People were finally seeing me. Then came the text. From my dad. "Please, just come home, we'll talk, no more pretending." But it was too late for pretending. The day of the hearing arrived like a weight pressing down on my chest. I wore a soft blouse and jeans that felt like me, not like what anyone expected. Charlotte and her parents were there, along with Jen and the lawyer from Rainbow Bridge. My parents arrived too, sitting stiffly on the other side of the courtroom. My mom still couldn't meet my eyes. My dad gave me a slight nod, but his face was unreadable. The judge listened carefully as both sides presented their arguments. My parents' lawyer called me confused, a troubled teen caught up in some phase. Our lawyer responded with facts, my journal entries, witness statements, emotional abuse records. Then it was my turn. I told the court I wasn't running from my family. I was running toward myself. That living as someone else for 15 years had cost me everything. My voice, my identity, my peace. And now I just wanted a chance to live as Amelia. The judge was quiet for a long moment before announcing her decision. Partial emancipation. I could make my own medical and identity-related decisions, live separately, and attend a new school. My parents were still financially responsible, but could no longer control how I lived. Outside the courtroom, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My dad approached. "I meant what I said before, Amelia. I want to be in your life, when you're ready." I nodded, unsure if I was, but hopeful. I moved into Rainbow Bridge's transitional housing, my own space, shared with 2 others like me. I started at a new high school where nobody knew me as Andrew. I was just Amelia. It felt like breathing for the first time. School was easier without a mask to wear. I joined the art club and discovered I loved painting. My grades improved. Charlotte helped me shop for clothes and experiment with style. I wasn't ultra-feminine, but I was me. And that was more than enough. My dad stayed in touch. Every call felt a little more like the father I'd always wanted. He joined a support group for parents of trans kids and started therapy. But my mom stayed distant. She sent money, addressed to Andrew. I sent it back, unopened. Then, out of nowhere, a package arrived. It was from my dad. Inside, a photo album, one I'd never seen. It held pictures of me as a baby, before they started calling me Andrew. Me in bows, me in pink, me as Amelia. With a note, "These always belonged to you. I'm sorry we tried to erase her. I cried for hours, not out of pain, but because for the first time I felt seen, validated, real. I never expected her to come, not after everything. But as I stood at my 1-year independence celebration, surrounded by people who actually saw me, Amelia, for who I was, the last person I imagined showed up at the door, my mom. She stood in the hallway awkwardly, holding a small gift bag, like it weighed more than her. "Hi," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Your dad told me about the party. I hope it's okay that I came." I just nodded. My mouth couldn't find the words, but I stepped aside. Inside, the room went still. Even my dad looked shocked. My mom handed me the gift. "It's not much. I just thought you might like it." Inside was a photo frame. In it, a picture I'd never seen. Me, 6 months old, wearing a frilly pink dress, laughing in my mom's lap. On the back, she'd written, "Amelia, 6 months old." Tears filled my eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. She looked at me, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry it took me so long. I didn't know how." Part of me wanted to hug her, another part was still bleeding. In the end, I simply asked, "Do you want some cake?" She stayed for an hour. It was awkward, messy, but real. She used my name. She complimented my hair. She asked about school. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Before leaving, she pulled me aside. "I miss you, and I want to try." "That's all I'm asking," I said. "Just try." We met again the next week, neutral ground, a quiet cafe. For the first 10 minutes, we danced around the real topics: weather, school, flowers. But then, she took a breath. "I've been seeing a therapist," she said. "Grief and loss." She helped me realize I wasn't just mourning my son, I was refusing to see my daughter. That hit like a gut punch, but it was also healing. "I can't promise I'll get everything right," she said, reaching out. "But I want to know you, Amelia." That moment, that sentence, meant more than she'll ever understand. Months passed. The wounds didn't vanish, but they scarred over. She still slipped up sometimes, but she was trying. I now had dinner with my parents once a week. My dad and I were reconnecting. My mom and I were building something entirely new. I kept both photo frames, my dad's baby album and my mom's birthday gift, on my dresser. A reminder that Amelia wasn't new. She was just buried for a long time. And now, finally, she was free.